Hey y'all, welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. This week I really worked on trying to make some freezer space and just using things that I already had on hand that needed to be used. So on Monday I decided to make chili dogs. That will always be one of our favorite things and perfect for a Monday, which tend to be the busiest day of the week for me. So I'm just going to pull out some of these Nathan's beef hot dogs and I'm going to pair that with some Dr. Pepper chili sauce that I recently made, and I will have that recipe linked in my description box. So I'm just going to set both of those out on the counter to thaw. So for the sides, I decided to finish off this bag of Alexia sweet potato fries. I've had these for quite a while, and I'm also going to finish off these frozen corn on the cobs. So here is everything put together. I always have to have cheese and mustard on my chili dog. Let me know down in the comments what you like on yours. So I just boiled up my corn, and then I cooked those sweet potato fries in the air fryer. This was our simple yet delicious Monday night dinner. On Tuesday, I decided to make a pizza bubble up casserole using some of these frozen Rose dinner rolls. I've had these for a long time, but the expiration date was still good on them. So I just let those sit out on the counter to thaw. The recipe said not to let them rise just yet. So please ignore this horrible angle. This was the day before I got my new tripod, but I had 10 rolls set out and I just cut each one into 8 bite-sized pieces. So here they are after I got them all chopped up, and I'm just going to toss those into some homemade pizza sauce that I made last week. I'm just going to take my spoon and make sure that every little piece gets coated in that sauce. And then I'm going to dump that out into a 9x13 baking dish that I have sprayed with some nonstick cooking spray. And I'm just making sure that it is spread out evenly. So next, I'm just going to take some cling wrap and cover that so that it can rise for a little bit. When that was done, I just topped it with some shredded mozzarella cheese. I believe I used about 2 cups. And then I topped it with pepperoni, and I popped that in my oven at 375 degrees for 25 minutes. So this was kind of a fail, kind of not. So this was supposed to be a bubble up casserole, like I said, and it did not bubble up. It was pretty flat. I don't know if I just had a bad batch of rolls, because I'm pretty sure this happened to me the last time that I tried to use them, or if freezing them for too long makes them not rise. I don't know, but I will say it was delicious and my kids loved it, which is all that matters to me. So I just served that with a side salad. So I have my lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, and croutons, and I drizzled it with some homemade ranch. So I finally made Missy's from the Waters Wife homemade ranch that she's always talking about. I will have her channel linked down below. I'm telling y'all, this is good stuff. It is restaurant quality, if not better. So I love this shaker bottle that I recently bought from Walmart. It was just 97 cents, and it has the measurements listed on the side, which makes it super easy to measure, and you just shake it and it mixes it really well, and then it pours out nicely. Highly recommend. So all that's in there is some ranch seasoning mix, mayonnaise, buttermilk, garlic powder, cayenne pepper, and some black pepper. So I just let that chill in the fridge. Wednesday was our meatless meal of the week, so I decided to make some copycat Taco Bell spicy potato tacos, which I love. So here I'm just making the chipotle sauce. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. But here I'm just adding some sour cream to my bowl, or you could use some plain Greek yogurt. I'm also going to be adding in some vinegar, and then I'm going to throw in my spices. So I have some chili powder, cumin, paprika, sugar, salt, garlic powder, and onion powder. And I'm just going to mix that together to make sure that everything gets combined well, and I'm just going to let that chill in my fridge for a bit. And now I'm just going to chop up my potatoes and add them to my mixing bowl. Next, I'm just going to drizzle my potatoes with olive oil, and then I'm going to add a mixture of flour, cayenne pepper, paprika, onion, and garlic powder. And the recipe didn't call for salt, but we all know that potatoes need salt. And I'm just going to make sure that every little piece gets coated in that seasoning. And then I'm going to be dumping that out onto a sprayed foil-lined cookie sheet. And I'm just going to spread those out evenly. And I'm going to pop that in my oven at 400 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. And here is what they looked like when they first came out of the oven. They were crispy on the outside and cooked perfectly on the inside. So I just served those on a warmed up tortilla, and I just spread a good layer of that chipotle sauce on the bottom, put a good amount of the potatoes. I have some shredded Monterey Jack cheese and some shredded lettuce. Now I won't say that these tasted just like Taco Bell's, but I will say they were delicious, and I will definitely be making them again. And I served that with my homemade Mexican rice. I have an older video on it that I can link down below. On Thursday, I decided to heat up some soup beans that I had previously made in my Instant Pot. These turned out so good, so I just set those out in my fridge the night before to thaw. And of course, you have to have cornbread with your soup beans, so I'm just taking some olive oil and pouring a little bit on my paper towel, and I'm going to rub down each little circle. I'm just doing this to make sure that nothing is going to stick. This actually isn't my pan. I borrowed it from my dad just for this recipe. I was really wanting some cornbread muffins instead of making like a whole big pan of it, and I really do think that cast iron makes the absolute best cornbread. So I'm just going to pop that in my oven, and I'm going to let those preheat together, and I do have my oven set to 450 degrees. So now on to the actual recipe. I'm going to be using some of this self-rising cornmeal mix, as well as some plain all-purpose flour and some salt. I'm going to give that a quick little whisk, and then I'm going to add in my wet ingredients. So I'm using some buttermilk. The recipe said to use like half buttermilk, half milk, something like that, but I decided to use all buttermilk because I really think that is what makes this recipe so good. And then also I'm going to be cracking in 1 egg, and I'm just going to whisk that together really well. I do recommend that you crack your egg in a separate bowl before adding it, just to make sure there's no shells. Just a little tip that I should have followed, but I didn't. Then lastly, I'm just adding in some shortening that I have melted in the microwave. I just slowly added that into my batter and mixed it together. So now I'm just going to add my batter into my pan. Also, to go along with this meal, I cooked up some cabbage. I have been craving it for forever, so I finally made some. So here you just see me cutting up my cabbage head. I just made sure that I removed the core, and then I added it into my Instant Pot. So I'm adding in some chicken broth. I used a lower sodium version. You need at least a cup. I probably used a little more. And then I added a couple tablespoons of butter to the top, popped my lid on, and made sure that it was set to sealing. And then I set my timer for 6 minutes and then did a quick release. So now I'm just seasoning it with some salt and plenty of black pepper. So here's everything all tied together. So here is the soup beans that I heated up. It has some country ham in there. It's a lot thicker than when I originally made it, but I'm not complaining. So good. And then this was honestly the best cornbread recipe that I have found. It is a non-sweet version. That's what I prefer. I highly recommend it. And then that cabbage was cooked perfectly. Normally I have to cook it for forever on the stovetop, but I was so impressed that it cooked in 6 minutes. For Friday's dinner, I'm going to be needing some barbecue chicken. So I'm just using this one that I made a week or two ago for a party that we had. So once again, I'm sitting that in the fridge the night before to thaw. This is dinner for Friday, so we are having barbecue chicken tostadas. I didn't even record myself putting these together because they were just so simple and self-explanatory. So you guys saw me thaw out this barbecue chicken earlier. I will have that recipe linked in my description box. So I just heated that up on the stovetop, and then when it was heated through, I just spread it on some of these tostadas. Every single one in this bag was broke, so that was a bummer, but it still tastes the same and it looks decent. But after that, I just topped it with some shredded cheese, popped it in my oven at 350 degrees for 6 minutes. Then when it came out, I just drizzled it with some Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. And then I added some sliced avocado and seasoned that with some of this everything but the bagel seasoning. I have never made these before, but I just know we're going to love them. But I will let you know on the screen what we thought about it. And then for the side, I just heated a can of these Bush's Black Fiesta beans. I've made these once before, and we really like them, so I thought it would be the perfect side for this, but we're going to go and dig in. Saturday, we were out and about all day. We took Riley school shopping, so we just picked up some Chick-fil-A on the way home, so I got a grilled chicken sandwich with a fruit cup. For Sunday's dinner, I laid out a pound of ground beef to thaw in the fridge overnight. I'm going to be using this to make a meatloaf in the Instant Pot for the first time. I'm also going to be making some mashed potatoes in that same pot. It's all going to cook together. So here I have 2 large russet potatoes that I have peeled and chopped into bite-sized pieces. I'm pouring in 2 cups of chicken broth and just seasoning with some kosher salt. And then I'm tossing in 2 cloves of garlic. And then I'm just going to place my trivet on top. So now for the meatloaf, I've just added my ground beef to a mixing bowl. I've added in 1 egg, and then I'm just seasoning with some garlic powder, some kosher salt, some black pepper, and then I'm also going to be adding about a tablespoon or so of Worcestershire sauce. Next, I'm going to add in about a 1/4 cup of Italian-style breadcrumbs and also about a 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce. And now I'm just going to get in there with my hands and make sure that everything is combined really well without overmixing it. I definitely don't want it to be tough or anything. But next, I just laid out a piece of tin foil, and then I just kind of folded up the sides so that I could fit it into the Instant Pot. And I'm just going to shape it into a loaf. And then I'm just going to place it on top of the trivet, and then I'm going to pop my top on, and once again make sure that it's set to ceiling, and I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes, and then I'm going to do a quick release. So then I just drained off the grease from the meat and then transferred it to a cookie sheet where I drizzled some more barbecue sauce on, and I just took out my little brush thingy and I'm spreading it all over the top, and that's going to go under my broiler for a couple of minutes. And now to finish off the potatoes, I have just drained them, added them back to my pot, and I've just added in some butter, sour cream, milk, a little bit of salt and pepper, and that is it. I just pulled out my potato masher and I got to mashing away. These mashed up super easy. They had a really good creamy consistency and they were just really, really good. The meatloaf and the potatoes cooked perfectly. I love how much time it saved me. I would definitely do that again. And I just served it with some cooked carrots on the side and some peas. And that is going to wrap up another week. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you are new here, I hope that you will stick around and subscribe. I would love to have you here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have an amazing week, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys.